Hello, my name's Lindy Cowling and welcome to my channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk and the way to get in contact with me would be by email, which is info@lindycowling.co.uk. Now, anyone that's seen any of my work before or any of my videos before will know that I only speak on camera about issues that I am absolutely passionate about. I speak very much from the heart, very much from personal experience, direct experience, and I will always take the soul and the spiritual perspective on things first and then bring it down into the physical nuts and bolts reality last. So that is the way round that I work things when I'm talking. So the title of today's short video is Post-Traumatic Soul Distress. Post-traumatic soul distress. Now, usually when we hear the term post-traumatic stress disorder, we get the impression of severe trauma, someone that has been through something very distressing and they have symptoms afterwards. I'm talking about the same, I was going to say diagnosis, but the same term of referencing, but from a soul and spiritual perspective. As someone who has suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, and as someone who has seen and is seeing it in clients from time to time. So PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is a relatively new concept that's only been spoken about in the last X amount of years. Post-traumatic soul spirit distress is part and parcel of the same thing, but I'm going to talk about it from the soul and spirit point of view. When any of us have been through experiences that utterly and totally traumatize us, whether they traumatize us mentally, whether they traumatize us emotionally, whether they traumatize us physically, spiritually, in the soul, the outcome, the resulting outcome is the same. The energy field, the spirit, if you like, goes into a state of shock. The mental body, the emotional body, the pain body, the energy field, the personality, the human being we are, goes into a state of shock. And sometimes that shock can work its way, I was going to say, because I'll always talk the spiritual and soul perspective first, so I won't start at the personality, I'll end at the personality. So let's start from the spirit. Sometimes it can work all its way down to the personality, and the symptoms come out through the personality and the behavior. So let me give an example of how PTSD can trigger in any of us. You're brought up in a violent childhood, a violent background, where you never know where the next violent event is going to come from, what timing that's going to be, so you walk on a knife edge. You never know when that's going to trigger. So you have no sense of safety at all, because you never know when it's all going to kick off. Another example, you are in some kind of war, i.e. as a soldier. Again, you never know when it's going to kick off. You are in a state of high alert all the time, 24/7. You can't relax. It's not actually safe to relax. You see things that you can't believe that you are actually witnessing. Again, spirit and soul goes into a state of shock. Body goes into a state of shock. Sometimes it's at the time, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it freezes and kicks in defense mechanisms, safety devices, or the soul or spirit slightly displaces, if you like, anything to numb you out or put you on a state of survival just to get through it. And later on, the psyche, if you like, later on your subconscious mind, later on your soul will deal with it. It kind of shelves it temporarily, and then it comes back to haunt you weeks, months, years after the events. Another example, man or woman married to an extremely violent partner, or married to a psychopathic partner, or married to a narcissistic character. Again, all their sense of worth, all their sense of boundaries, all their sense of safety isn't there. Never knowing when the next dig's going to come, never knowing when the next issue is going to arrive. They are walking on eggshells 24/7. And I could go on and on and on with examples. People brought up in any kind of abusive environments. People witnessing something distressing. People going through an extremely distressing set of circumstances in personal relationships. Again, we can go even firefighters, police officers. This is right across the board. We have tended to think of PTSD, when we talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, as occurring in the military, for example, and in firefighters and in servicemen and women, and of course that is the case, but also thousands and thousands and thousands, if not millions, also get triggered from being in controlling abusive relationships, coming from violent backgrounds or abusive backgrounds or controlling backgrounds. Or there's no limitation here. The soul can go into a state of shock at a marriage breakup, at a relationship breakup. So starting from the top, we can call this another name. We can call it soul shock, we can call it spiritual shock, we can call it soul distress, spiritual distress. And sometimes in its extreme forms, almost like the soul, you know, in shamanic terms, actually, you could say it kind of, parts of the soul kind of just hides out, really, in a way kind of displaces. And this is where soul retrieval comes in, you know, where a shamanic practitioner will go and retrieve part of the soul that's kind of gone into hiding, really. It's hidden up, or it's displaced. If we bring it down from the soul and spirit, and we bring it down into the actual psyche, down into the subconscious mind of the person involved, defense mechanisms can kick in. So they will numb out or displace or just file it away for another time, because they can't actually cope with dealing with it at that time. They just can't. They haven't got the capacity at that time to deal with it. And sometimes it never gets dealt with. And sometimes it comes up to bite them, to haunt them. And then it has to be dealt with. When PTSD strikes, it has, like I say, a number of symptoms. People can react with anger and extreme emotion, or they can go the opposite and they can shut down, they can numb out. The most common way we numb out is via alcohol, via drugs, prescription or street drugs, via eating as much as we can get our hands onto. Anything that gives us a sense of numbing out or comfort, or just being able to suppress the overwhelming trauma that's there in the system. People can be in this cycle of numbing out or using these other substances for quite some time until they try and get help, and some never try and get help. And the extreme end of this would be, you know, some actually decide to leave this life, you know, because they are in such a state of distress and they don't know where to get the help. But the help is out there. This is PTSD now is becoming something that's being talked about. Most people overlook the spiritual and soul perspective of it, like they do with all dis-ease, all illness, all conditions. A lot of people overlook that side of it. But when dealing with someone with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, post-traumatic spirit and soul distress, all sides of the coin need to be looked at and healed, right the way down, from spirit to soul, to the personality, the mental body, the pain body. And there are variations on a theme because we're all slightly different. The bottom line is this person needs healing in every element of their being. They need healing, physical healing, counseling. They need to talk about it. They will have found that they are triggered. When I say triggered, certain words could trigger them, a certain sense of events, a set of circumstances, you know, seeing the car that the person that abused them drove, they could see that car everywhere, or think they see it everywhere because somebody's driving the same make of car, and that could trigger them again. That's just a simple example. Nightmares, really strong nightmares, kind of night sweats, sleepwalking, pulling your hair out in your sleep. It often comes through like a bleed through in the sleep. So if you are someone that's suffering in this way, please do not suffer in silence. You need to talk about this. You need to get some support with this. And if you cannot get that support via a large organisation, because they're few and far between across the world, support systems that are state funded. If you can't get it state funded, then get it privately. You'll probably say, I haven't got the money to get it privately. Find a way around this. Please find a way around this. You need to talk about it. It needs to come out. The subconscious mind is trying to deal with it when you're having these nightmares and when you're having these episodes. Try and go to a therapist that specializes in complex PTSD or specializes in this. Not someone that's just dipping their toe in the water, or someone that's actually experienced it and lived through it. Talk about it. Get counseling, get psychotherapy, get treatment for this. Also, if you're open to that idea, get spiritual and soul treatment for this. Maybe go and see a shamanic practitioner that can see if parts of your soul are displaced, or that, you know, go and see someone that can deal with that element of it. Go see a you know, really good healer, a proper healer. Healing heals the soul and spirit of somebody, not just the physical body. That's only one element of healing. Healing isn't just when you break an arm or a leg, or you've got a physical symptom. It heals very much on the soul and spirit, the etheric body, the energy field around you. Please do not suffer in silence. This is an issue that's being talked about more and more, and as part of the changes on this planet at this time, we are all becoming far more aware of things on a different level, and many of us are approaching things on a different level. So if you are someone, whatever circumstances that you have come from, whatever it is that have triggered symptoms in you, where you are having nightmares continuously, where you are numbing out, or you're angry all the time, or you're using substances, like I say, food, drink, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, whether you feel like you can't engage with the world at all anymore, or if you're being triggered, if you're feeling really depressed, please do seek the assistance. The assistance is there for you. If you can't get it through the state or the country that you live in, try and get it through a private therapy sector. The wonderful thing about the internet now, look, as a last resort, if you can't get it one-on-one, seeing somebody personally, then do it via Skype, do it via the internet. But please do get some assistance from a qualified practitioner, and be open to the idea of getting that assistance for your soul and spirit as well as your physical body, because the whole system is involved in this. There's no separation. And on that note, I will love you and leave you. And from my heart to yours, I wish you so much love and so much healing. Thank you. Bye-bye.